Hey, Rent to Retires, it's Adam Schrader here. We have a great video for you today about who is on your real estate team. But before we get to that, let me remind everybody, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're putting out content all the time now. Click the notifications button, make sure you don't miss any of this. It will help make you a better investor. Also, if you have any other video ideas you'd like, any topics you'd like us to cover, please enter it in the comments below and we will get to it as soon as possible, or we'll address it on the podcast that we're coming out with 2 times a week. So let's get to it. Who's on your real estate team? Real estate may seem like a venture that's all you. You buy a property, you repair the property, you find the tenant, you get the cash flow, you do everything, right? Not even close. No, there's a whole lot of people who will make you a success, and we're going to talk about them today. And the first person we're going to talk about is your lender. Your lender is the person who allows you to be bigger than you could be by yourself. They're the people who give you the money that help you build your empire, your portfolio the way you want it. You could, with your $100,000, let's say you could buy one $100,000 property, or you could go the smart route, use leverage and buy 5 properties that allow you to then diversify across multiple properties, put 20% down on 5 $100,000 properties, and now you have $500,000 worth of real estate when you previously could have only gotten $100,000. But there are some things you need to get from your lenders, some things you need to know before you start taking their money. Let's talk about the first one, and that is, do they work with investors often? Investor loans are different than owner-occupied loans. They're a little more complicated. They take a little more time. Some lenders don't like loaning to investors. They say, you know what, I can get enough money just doing owner-occupied. But you want to be working with someone who works with investors, and also preferably somebody who works in multiple states. Every state has their own licensing requirements. And if you can find somebody who lends in the states that you're looking at investing in, then you can just work with 1, maybe 2 lenders if you need. And it makes getting all your documentation at the end of the year, especially for taxes, a whole lot easier. Also, do they communicate well with you? Lending is a time-sensitive business. If they aren't telling you what they need and they're making you wait and wait and wait, there's a chance you lose the deal that you're in, especially in a seller's market like we're in right now. So if you're losing deals because of that, find a new lender. And also, when you're ready to let's say you want to lock in your rate, if you can't get a hold of them, you could miss out on the rates. They could end up higher and could end up paying more points. You want to be able to get a hold of them and see what is out there that you could get a hold of right now, not in 2 or 3 days. You also want to know, what loan origination do they charge? Getting money costs money. They have to pay their employees, they have to pay their office space, they have to pay their own mortgage or rent. So they need to get paid for what they do because they're providing a valuable service. How much should you be spending? Somewhere in the $1,000 to $2,000 range seems pretty reasonable. It's what I've been paying most of the time. Maybe you see somebody charging $10,000. Well, what are they doing? What are they offering that's so special that they need that much money? What are they getting that they're willing to do that? Are they a really good friend who's doing it just out of the kindness of their heart? Is it somebody who's not a really good friend, but they're now getting some kickback somewhere else? So just check and see how much you're paying them. Make sure it's a reasonable amount before you move forward. And also what rates are available. This is what everybody thinks of when they think of lending, when they think of getting their mortgage. What interest rate can I get? Now, obviously, day one, they're not going to be able to tell you exactly what rate you're going to get unless you decide to lock in your rate on day one for some reason. They'll be able to tell you a range. Maybe they say, 20% down, we're getting 4 1/4 to 4 5/8. And that way you can know, okay, that's about market average. That seems good. I'll move with them. Now, new construction, you may be looking at getting something 6-7 months down the road. So you need to make sure all of the other boxes I talked about are checked. If they have competitive rates now, there's a pretty good chance they'll have competitive rates in 6-7 months down the road. And there's somebody you want to work with. The next person is the provider, the seller. Now, this could be a builder, a flipper, just a general home sale. We're not going to talk about the home sale, like buying the one-off home from the grandma or the person who's behind on their mortgage. I want to talk today about the flippers and the builders and the people who are doing this as a business. You want to be talking to them about what neighborhoods they're working in. Are they working in C class, B class, A class neighborhoods? You can make money in all of those neighborhoods and all of those markets, but you need to know what market you're getting into, what neighborhood, what class you're getting into from the get-go. You don't want to be buying properties that you think are B plus and they end up being C minus. There's a different price point in there. There's a different tenant. It's just a different style, a different philosophy of investing. So you want to know exactly where you're buying, exactly what's going on, talk to the provider and see what they're doing. You want them to know what you're looking for so they can bring you the best possible product for your portfolio. Will they have consistent inventory? You don't want to end up in 10 different markets with one property in every market. You want to be able to build up the portfolio. You don't want to be spending all your time building up real estate teams in every single market you're in, if that's 10 markets. But you get a couple of different markets, a couple of different teams, makes life a lot easier. You want to be able to find out, hey, how long have you been in business and how many properties a month are you able to put out? And will that be enough to get one within a reasonable amount of time once I have enough money saved up to get my next property? And also, do they do good work at a good price? I myself buy turnkey, rent to retirement. We deal with turnkey and new construction properties. So we're paying on the upper end of the market. But there's a big difference between paying $95,000 to $100,000 for a property in a neighborhood that runs around $80,000 to $90,000 and being asked to pay $140,000 $150,000 for that same property. So you need to know what's the market in this neighborhood, how much more am I spending, and why is it more expensive? Another person you're going to be dealing with is your insurance agent. Insurance, you're going to need it on your property. Your mortgage officer will require it. And even if you don't have a mortgage, if you buy it cash, you should get insurance for your property. So what you want to know is, do they insure investment properties? And you need to let them know from day one that this is an investment property. You're going to need to make sure they know that your property manager, if you're using one, needs to be named on the policy. They need to know because it changes the way that they're charging you for your home insurance. You also need to know if they work in multiple states. This is super helpful if you're buying in like Indiana and Michigan and Florida. You want to be able to hopefully use just a few companies to insure all of your properties. You may not want to use them, one company for all of them necessarily. Hopefully you can insure more than one with them so that when you get a bigger portfolio, you're not having to comb through 10 different companies to try to find out which one is insuring that one property that's coming up for renewal. Keep it reasonable, make sure they work in multiple states and they deal with investment properties. Now we get to the property manager, the people who make the deal work. Now that could be yourself, it could be a management company. We're going to talk today about management companies because if you're the property manager and you don't like your property manager, well, nothing I can do for you there. But you need to know if your property manager works on a flat rate or on rent collected. Now, there's pros and cons to both of these. Usually, if they work on a flat rate, you're saving money month to month. But when there's a vacancy, when there's a tenant turn, you're still paying that monthly management fee, even though there's no rent being collected. When you're paying on rent collected, maybe you're paying a little bit more every month, but when the property's vacant, then you're not dealing with that headache. So, you could be saving, let's say you have a $1,300 rent and you're either paying a 10% management or $100 a month. You're saving $30 a month whenever there is a tenant, but you're losing $100 a month when there isn't a tenant. So you just need to balance those out, see how long their tenants are staying on average, and figure out what it's worth to you. What maintenance reserves do they require? Now, this is both in terms of how much you need to give them day one and how much of your money they're allowed to spend before they have to tell you. So pretty much every management company is going to require you give them a certain amount of money to use for repairs when needed. That might be $500, $1,000. It's whatever is in the contract. Now, you could also ask them, hey, can you take this out of the first month's rent? Or do I need to send you a check today? Now, then you need to look and say, hey, what's the point at which you tell me you're repairing my property as opposed to me finding out on my statement? That could be $250 or $500. It's going to vary, and it depends how much you trust the people you're working with. Maybe you start low and work your way up. This is a negotiable number, so just keep that in mind when you're talking with them. How quickly do they call or email you back? This is important for two reasons. The first reason is obvious. You're their boss. It's your property. If something's going on with it, you need to know. They work for you, so they should be responding to you. But also, the second part is, if they're not responding to you, the person who actually pays them, are they responding to your tenant? I had a terrible experience recently where I had a property management company who never called me back, rarely emailed me back. It took me weeks to get an answer to simple questions. I knew I should have fired them. I was talking about firing them for 7 months or so, and I finally fired them. And I got a hold of the tenant and I said, is there anything that needs to be done? And they said, oh yeah. I told the management company there were several things that need to be fixed. They didn't deal with them. They've gotten worse. Next thing you know, I'm spending thousands of dollars on things that should have been repaired and would have been cheaper to been repaired over the months that things were going wrong. So if they're not contacting you, they're probably not contacting the tenant. And also, what do they charge for lease ups and renewals? When you get a tenant placed and you stop having to pay, your mortgage on a vacant property, it's worth money. And they're going to ask for money. It might be 50, 75, 100% of 1 month's rent. Every market has a different number. Every property manager has a different number. Know what it is going in. And then renewals. If that tenant wants to stay for another year, how much is it going to cost you? 150, 250, 25% of 1 month's rent. It should be less than getting the lease up because it's the same person just staying, but you're probably going to have to pay for it. Who else might be on your real estate team? Well, if you're working with rent to retirement, you're going to have an investment counselor. If you're not, you might just have a mentor. And the investment counselor's job is to help you figure out how you're going to build your portfolio. They're going to help you find the lender, help you find the provider, help you find the property, help you find the market, help you find your insurance agent, help you with your inspection report, your appraisal if you need. A 1031 exchange intermediary. Hopefully, you will need this at some point in your investing journey. As your property appreciates, it may be able to buy you 2 or 3 different properties with the appreciation that's happened in it. You need to have somebody who's been in the business and who's trusted and who will explain to you the exact timeline you need to follow to make sure that you don't get hit with a big capital gains tax because you failed to meet the requirement that you didn't know about because they failed at their job. So your investment counselor can help you with that as well. Your mentor can help you with that, but you're hopefully going to need an intermediary at some point. Maybe have a whole life insurance agent on your team. We will talk about it on the podcast and talk about it on the YouTube channel. You can use whole life insurance to invest in vehicles like real estate. It's worth a talk with an agent to see if it works for you. And perhaps most importantly, a real estate CPA. Real estate has a lot of tax benefits, but tax benefits equals tax difficulty. Every time you add a property, you have more depreciation, more deductions, but that makes it more complex. You need to have somebody who works with investors, who knows the real estate tax code. You might talk to a CPA and they say, yeah, I know the tax code for real estate. And maybe they have a general idea of it. But if you're their only real estate client or one of 2 or 3, that's not what they're doing day in, day out. It's easy for them to miss something. And you and myself don't know all of the tax laws. So there's a chance that we're not going to catch what they missed. You want somebody who's dealing with investors all the time. It's a big part of their business, and they will make sure you get all the tax benefits that are afforded to you according to, the US tax law and the IRS. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, if it was helpful, please click the like button. Don't forget, if there's anything else, any questions you have, any videos you think we should make, comment below. Let us know what they are. Go to renttoretirement.com to schedule a consultation with an investment counselor or to check out our inventory. You can also catch our podcasts on the website, and we'll see you at the next video.